Morning all. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Sunday, December the 31st. Yeah, as I said last night, can't wait for the next couple of weeks when I'm still calling it 2023 when it's 2024. Anyways, we'll start off with Minnesota news. We're about an hour out from the start of the game between Minnesota and the Winnipeg Jets, the rematch from yesterday. That rematch will not have Gustafsson in net. It will be Fleury playing his 1,000th game, and Gustafsson's out with a lower body injury. So Minnesota's recalled Zane McIntyre to play the backup role today. They've also recalled Nick Petan. Petan, of course, is serviceable as a fourth-line player, but he's in the lineup because Kaprizov is not out. He's being evaluated, or not in, I should say. He's out. He's being evaluated for the injury he suffered yesterday against the Winnipeg Jets. So we'll see how long Kaprizov ends up being out. We'll see if that has an effect on the game, if it's a little more physical than what we normally see between these two teams. But yeah, it should be an interesting game, and that's to start the day, too. Thomas Chabot returns today for the Ottawa Senators against the Buffalo Sabres. Chabot's only played, I think it's only 9 games so far this year, so nice to see him getting back into the lineup, and we'll see what he can do against Buffalo. Game between two teams that desperately need to string together some wins here. Girard is returning for the Avs today as well. He is set to return to the lineup against the Sharks, so he came out of the player assistance program and has had some practices with Colorado and now is ready to return. So for the Avs, who are already playing better than they were, say, a couple weeks ago, this is good news, getting Girard back in the lineup and all that. The Avs, of course, no stranger to having to cobble together a lineup due to injuries or whatever circumstances are out there. Getting Girard back in the lineup's really good news for them. So hopefully he does well, and so do they. They're against San Jose, so that really looks like a game they should win. But we have seen already this season where when you're against Chicago, San Jose, Anaheim, if you go out there and you don't bring your A game, they can beat you. Jim Montgomery, after the game last night, said Charlie McAvoy was okay, that he was walking around and he seemed all right. So it doesn't sound like he's going to miss time. He left the game against the Devils after colliding with Linus Ullmark while he was coming back. So hopefully McAvoy doesn't miss any time. That would be a huge blow to Boston if he did. McAvoy's already been hurt once this year. I think it's actually once, twice. I don't. McAvoy just seems to be out of the lineup here and there. So let's hope that he can stay healthy and stay in the lineup for an extended period for Boston. Erik Karlsson reached a milestone with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He has reached 600 assists. Of course, that's not as a Penguin. That'd be physically impossible over such a short period of time. Unless you're playing an NHL video game, and then you have to be playing it on rookie level, and why? Karlsson reaches 600 assists in his career. Kudos to him for reaching that milestone. Karlsson, of course, will end up being in the Hall of Fame. I would think first ballot. And it's just another thing you can put on his resume for an application to said Hall of Fame. So Ottinger's resumed skating. Not that I wrote his name on the board, but that's who I was going to write on the board, and then I didn't. I think it's that somebody was talking to me in the room at the time. It wasn't my wife either, so you can't say stupid Yvonne. Don't even think about it. Anyways, Ottinger's resumed skating. I wouldn't even think it because wives know. But Ottinger's resumed skating. He will not play today, though. So the good news is Ottinger, it sounds like, is trending towards a return. Dallas does need him back in the lineup. I do get nervous about them overplaying Wedgwood, so it doesn't sound like Ottinger's going to be out that much longer. Scott Mayfield's been activated off of IR by the New York Islanders. He is expected to play today versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's a good addition for a New York team that the last time out against Pittsburgh allowed 7 goals. So Mayfield should help to keep them from allowing 7 goals again against Pittsburgh, although I'd be very surprised if they did. I think they're going to come out a little bit of fire for the Islanders, I would think, to prove that 7-0 drubbing was not indicative of where they're at right now. Dvorak is out for the Montreal Canadiens. He will not play today against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Dvorak has an upper body injury, which is about as close to finding out what's going on with a player as we get these days. And so we'll see how Montreal navigates that. And they're coming off the loss last night, of course, against the Florida Panthers. So Toronto fans, there's only a 3-game losing streak, which for most fan bases, it's not a huge deal. But of course, Toronto, you're under that microscope. It's interesting because Keefe sat Kampf last night. And I don't know that Kampf was necessarily the problem. I'm not saying he had a great game against Columbus or anything, but Keefe, after the game, said he had no regrets over sitting Kampf after Carolina went 2 for 4 on the power play. And of course, Kampf plays the defensive role and penalty kills. And Kampf's wife posted to Instagram that he'd had a 323 consecutive game streak that was broken there. She didn't sound salty about it, just that it was a 323 game streak. And I mean, that's not nothing, but it's not getting into like, Phil Kessel, Doug Jarvis kind of range, but it is unfortunate. And we'll see what the Toronto Maple Leafs do from here. It's interesting because last night's game where they lose 3-2 against the Columbus Blue Jackets, I don't think they played as well as they did against Carolina. Last night it was 3-2. The previous night it was against Columbus. If I mess this up, I swear. But yeah, the 6-5 loss against Columbus, I thought they played well. It was just they couldn't get the saves. Last night they got the saves. They just didn't play as well. And of course, Carolina is a much better team than Columbus. So I think there's a lot to consider here. I think that there's not really reason to panic if you're in Leafs fandom at this stage. They are 7th overall in the NHL, and this is despite all the turmoil. So once they get it together and once the GM figures it out, you're good. But we'll see how that goes, right? Because I know there are people who have some doubts when it comes to Brad Treliving, but that's kind of standard in sports fandom. There is no GM that you could mention right now that everybody would 100% say, oh, great GM, does a great job. I can't think of a time he's made a mistake. So, we'll see how things go for Toronto. I do think there's a bit of an overreaction from some to how things are going in Leafland right now because it is just January tomorrow. Like if we were turning the calendar from March to April tomorrow, I think there'd be a lot of reasons for concern about how things are going with Toronto and obviously the goalie situation, but we're not. We're still 2 months out from the trade deadline. There's plenty of time for Toronto to figure it out, and it's nice going through struggles above the playoff line and staying there. It's another thing if you have a team that's going through struggles and going through all of this while they're trying to catch a playoff spot. So, anyways, I just wanted to inject a little bit of positivity into that. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.